your business idea or product. I've had the pleasure of working with Amanda to curate this curriculum that you're going to be learning throughout the next 4 weeks. This is actually the first time I've ever seen her do this, so I'm really excited. This is the first time she asked me for technical support, which is also another thing that I offer for my business. So if you ever need any support business development wise, I'll send you my information at the end of these 4 sessions.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, so, and she's, like she said, she's going to be doing technical support. So I'm going to be, generating a lot of the time for the slides and really what the verbiage out loud is. She's going to be doing the background slides. And if you have any questions, put it in the chat, raise your virtual hand. She might say, hey, Amanda, there's a question from this person, if I don't catch it. So she will be taking care of all the technical stuff. Let's see. Anything else about our roles, Alexis, that we should go through that I missed?
I think that's it. And just remember, you can always privately message me here on Zoom as well if you don't want your message to go to the entire group. So feel free to do that, and I'll support as best as I can.
All right, awesome. All right, and I'd love to hear from everybody if we can. Do we have time to hear from everybody, Alexis, or just taking a couple shares?
We can take a couple shares. We did start a little bit late.
Okay, awesome. All right, so 1 or 2 people, why are you here and what had you sign up for this advocacy training? And you can raise your virtual hand or just call it out. Oh, I think you're, yep. Okay, go ahead, Amanda, and then Roger.
So at Servicio's, part of our mission statement is advocacy, and I think any chance to learn about ourselves, how we can advocate for our community, is just a great opportunity to gain more knowledge and beneficial for our careers to help community.
Great, beautiful. Well, thank you for being here. All right, and Roger.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a care worker for Lifeline Colorado. I have lived experience. I was involved with organized crime out of San Diego back in the 70s. Went to prison for 39 years and been out for 3. I'm a certified peer recovery coach, so amongst other things. I've gotten college degrees in certain things. So I wanted to come along here to see what you're doing as far as the advocacy. I saw what you're doing for formerly incarcerated people. We work Lifeline with formerly incarcerated people, giving them wraparound services to wages. We also work with Urban Impact, which is working with troubled teens in alternative schools, as well as gang intervention, violence intervention groups. We go to shootings. We have a pathway finders from 12 to 19, helping young kids find careers and be mentoring other people. So, and CWI, which is the acupuncture in the ear, NADA for the 5 points of the ear. So we cover a lot of things. We are a growing organization, and I want to hear what we can do together, or what I can help my organization as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I can really hear your passion. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll allow one more, Leandra, and then we'll move on.
I think for myself, I work with Wages through the empowerment program. We provide wraparound services with women, and like the gentleman beforehand, Robert, I do have the lived experience both professionally and just within life. I've been to prison as well, and I think more so for myself, because I'm in this line of work, that I want to be able to develop more tools within the community, because I start to experience compassion fatigue. So, getting more things that can help replenish me so that I can remain mission focused on the work that I do, to better, kind of be an example and provide those tools and resources for people without feeling so overwhelmed when they, I only have a limited amount of things that I'm able to do. So kind of just like re-energize myself so that I can remain focused and provide the best services for the people that I serve.
Great. Did you read the outline of our curriculum at all?
Because did.
That's yes, yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
Yep, good. No, that is great, because I never know doing these, right? Because advocacy really generally in the general sense means like advocating for policies, which I do. but there's not a lot of talk about what it is to be an advocate and really ground yourself with all of the crazy noise out there. And, you know, like you said, the compassion fatigue is real. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of talk around trauma with actual service providers, which is a real thing, but there's not a lot of talk about what it is for advocates to do this work. So that's a really big thing of why I created this. So you just spoke volumes of what we're going to be doing here. So thank you, Leandra. All right, well, we're going to watch a video. Oh, we can't hear it, Lex. I think you're about to take yourself off mute.
One moment.
Yep, no worries.
Advocacy helps people to speak up and get involved when decisions are being made about their life.
Can you hear that?
Sometimes people need some help to make choices, and advocates are there to be on your side to help you express your views, preferences, and choices. Advocacy is based on the belief that you are the best person to make decisions about your life. Advocates are not there to tell you what to do, decisions, or even give you advice. They are there to be on your side and walk with you through decision-making processes. It often involves listening, self-advocacy, practical support like attending meetings, challenging decisions, accessing information, understanding information, accessing services, participating in communities, challenging discrimination, making and communicating choices, protecting human rights, supported decision-making, but is always about promoting a person's wishes, feelings, aspirations, and preferences. Kate Mercer Training is a national organization that provides training and
All right, so that was just a little snippet of, you know, an overview of what an advocate can do in this field. So I know that we had some technical difficulties, so sorry about that. If you could take the picture of this QR code and just take, 30 seconds to fill it out. It should work. Let me know if there's any other foreseen technical issues with it. And then I'm gonna move on. Give you just all right, everyone able to pull that up? Perfect. All right, great. Thumbs up. All right, I'll give you there's a second to do that. And then we'll move on. All right, let's move on to the next slide. You can still continue to fill it out as I do the overview. Okay, so we are going to be here for 4 sessions. I know that it does say 5. It's typically this curriculum typically is 5 sessions, but I worked with Richard at the Latino Coalition to merge it into 4. So session 4 and session 5 will be together. And I really want to emphasize, because I'm not sure, I'm going to go look again at the registration. This is fine if you want to just come to this one, but the curriculum is really built to build on each other. So if you can make it for all 4 sessions, I'd highly recommend that. So session 1 today, we're going to be doing an introduction to mindset, reality, and breaking barriers. Session 2, we're going to dive into your voice and your passion. Session 3, we're going to look at different techniques for advocacy. And then session 4 and session 5, like I said, are going to be combined. And in that one session, we're going to look at collective action and collaboration. And then what that means is, you know, finding other cohorts or communities out there that are doing the same things that you're doing to partner up. And then putting all of this into a system, right? Like using a technique like project systems like Asana or Google Sheets to really organize yourself as an advocate. So it's not just focus, you know, stored in your head, but it's out there and looking at your systems and are they efficient and do you want to shift them? So that'll be our time together as an overview. Okay, beautiful. So session 1. So this session, we really dive into mindset, reality, and advocacy. We're going to learn to differentiate between what is reality and what are assumptions that we make up as human beings. So I'll dive into that a little bit more. We're going to look at questioning the validity of information in a noisy world, right? If you go on social media or pick up a newspaper, there's 50,000 things that happen in one day. And how do you really filter that out so you can stay grounded as an advocate? We're going to look at surrendering opinions and judgments, taking consistent action, and being an advocate regardless of all the external influences. We're going to look at the significance and importance of having a mentor and a coach. Personal development is going to be explored, highlighting the importance of self-reflection, cultivating a mindset of commitment, belief, and success. And we're really going to look at bringing balance to our lives and looking at how can we be an advocate with curiosity and wonder. Again, it gets, you know, what I've found is just sometimes gets with all the noise, there can be a lot of negativity as well. So how do we remain an advocate and remain passionate and fight for what we want to fight with curiosity and wonder and really having an optimistic outlook on what we're doing as an advocate? And so, you know, overall, this session is really going to be looking at giving you some tools to navigate challenges and pursue personal growth for yourself. All right, we're going to go to the next one. So mindset and reality. So we're going to do an exercise, and from here on out, it's going to be really interactive because this is, you know, I'm going to give you some tools, but the purpose of this and all of the sessions and why we design and how we design this is really for you to discover something newly versus Amanda and Alexis just telling you more about things that you probably already know. So this is going to be a really self-discovery for you to empower you. So we're going to time you. We're going to have you just write down your basic mindset. What is your mindset right now coming into this training, coming in today? Don't try to figure it out. Just what is your mindset around empowerment and what is your mindset around advocacy? So we're going to give you, how long are we giving them, Alexis?
You get 3 minutes and then we'll take 5. That's it.
Okay, perfect.
So it starts now.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And I'll give you a 1-minute warning. 1 more minute, everyone. All right, everyone, that is time.
All right, thank you, Alexis, and thank you, everybody. So just keep that somewhere present for you during this entire training. We're gonna, at the end, we're gonna have you share from this exercise. So just keep this in the background for you. We're gonna get into the reality versus assumption, and then we're gonna open it up for some sharing. So if we look at this, if you just check yourself on a daily basis, right? And you can feel free to take notes around this. Do you have a practice for yourself that you check for what's happening in your head with all the noise and the thoughts versus what's happening in reality? And this is, I want to emphasize, this is probably one of the hardest things as a human being, right? Again, it's a noisy world. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of, especially as an advocate, it's fast paced. But do you have a practice for yourself that you're actually stopping and, okay, am I about to have this conversation with this person based on what's in my head versus what's actually happening? Am I reading into this? Am I making assumptions? So you just want to ask yourself that question. And we're going to, like I said, open this up in a little bit, but this is going to be just the start of our inquiry here. Because knowing things that may be the hard truth, like you sometimes, that we as humans, right? We look at a situation and we're like, I know that's the case. I know that that's the truth. That's what's happening. But how many times have you actually realized that that's not always the case? Sometimes we think that things are the truth, and it's not always the case. And same for people that we work around us. So in reality, who gets to say what's the truth, right? I think that's why the credible messenger movement is so fascinating, because if you look at the punitive system 100 years ago, and the truth was, all right, anyone that does a crime, anyone that was in a gang, they have to go be incarcerated, and that is going to have us have a safer community. But now we're seeing that that's only making things worse, right? So who gets to, if you question, like, who gets to say what the truth is? And I think that's why these days there's so many movements, because people are really now having the courage and the audacity to challenge those truths. We also have to challenge our truths as advocates every day. So again, just allow yourself to be open in this conversation, because it's going to unfold. Because if you look, our job's not to feed into that noise. It's not, right? And I'll give you another example. I work with the police department here in San Diego to advocate for the credible messenger movement, to advocate for people that were imprisoned or formerly incarcerated and that were in gangs. And there's one police officer that thinks one truth about this work, it's not that great. And then there's another police officer that's a great partner to be an advocate. But it's not my job to feed into the noise and say, oh yeah, this police officer doesn't know what they're talking about. And trust me, sometimes I want to, because it's really difficult to keep that balance because of what I believe in. But again, it's not our job as advocates to feed into the noise or feed into the gossip or the rumors. It's really looking at how can we be powerful as an advocate in the face of that. You'd have to be willing, and again, I know this is really difficult, you'd have to be willing to surrender any opinions or judgments and consider that life does not always appear as it may seem. And it does sound cliche and, something you've probably heard before, but it's really difficult to master, but it can be really simple as well. So those are some techniques that I've used for myself. And you'd have to be willing to take action consistently and over time, knowing sometimes in maybe not even right away, that the results won't be there, right? This relationship I'm talking about with the San Diego Police Department, we started it about 2 years ago, and we're getting into year 3, and we're finally starting to make some ground and headway and build relationships, right? So you can look at that as a long time. For me, it seemed like a long time because I was in the fire pretty much every single week. Some people may think that's a short amount of time. So you get to really look and engage. You really get to look and engage for yourself what that is. But it's really about sometimes taking action consistently, even if you're not seeing results right away. So I want to open this up, maybe 1 or 2 people. What are you starting to hear? What are you starting to discover around the opening exercise, or from reality versus assumptions from what I'm delivering right now? What are you starting to hear for yourself? And you can raise your virtual hand or your actual hand. And even if you don't like it, right? You might say like, like this is, I don't like what she's saying. You know, this is also a space to be authentic around where you're at. So you can put it all up on the map.
Roger, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm probably the oldest person here, so I've been around a little while, and I did a lot of studies on things concerning law enforcement from years ago, say 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, to where we're at today, as well as the prison system. Having been in the prison system for almost 40 straight years, I saw the changes, and we are seeing changes in Colorado. Thankfully for Lifeline, that they were advocating back in 2016 to get it where we who have lived experience can work with Latino Coalition and wages and stuff like that. We work with parole officers. And when, as Amanda rightly said, when we first started working with parole officers, some were very skeptical. They think that we're going to manipulate the system. They want to just look out for just the incarcerated or prior incarcerated person without any regard to their position in their jobs. So we did have to earn their trust and let them know we understand both sides of the story. They have a job to do, which is to protect the community, but we have a voice to help these people who many of them want change. They come from generational backgrounds of drugs, alcohol, crime. We work with gang members as well, high risk and medium risk people. Sometimes as you get a little older in life, they want change. But if you're always looked at by what's on the paper, or looked at because of the things that might be on their face, their body, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
And we come along and we give them that voice. We give them the tools to be able to become successful. And over time, because of our successes, we have won the respect of many of the parole officers, which there are going to be people who are set in their mind because it's the system. The system is an industry, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry for states. Colorado is one of them. So the reality is that there are people who want change. We're there for that. We're the ones that give hope on legs and give them everything they need to have that change. You're always going to have a few who don't. We had that this morning before I got here. But as we're doing so, we are changing the mentality of the system. And I would say 7 years, I have seen a major shift in the mentality of the Department of Corrections and law enforcement, as well as the parole officers. Some's good, some's not.
Yeah.
But it's a progress. It's a transition. It didn't get here overnight. It's not going to change it.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Roger. Yeah, and you really are pointing out a couple of things, right? Like that this takes time, and that you are staying grounded in your thoughts. I could tell that you're someone who is living this work based on your responses. And there is going to be one thing that I'm going to challenge you on, right? The comment that you made, and I get it. This is gnarly work, right? The comment that you made around systems, there is no if, ands, or buts. That is a common thing that we all think. And that is something I deal with every single day. But what I'm going to challenge all of you is really that is your reality, right? That's your assumption, but it's not necessarily the truth. So just keep inquiring into that. You're doing a great job so far, but that, and just so you know, I will challenge all of you at one point or the other, just to push you and grow you into you know, who I really see advocates can be. So thank you, Roger. I appreciate you diving out there. All right, Leandra, and then we will move on.
I was just going to add that for myself, I'm a very analytical thinker. I have to break down something and then break it down again and then break it down again. And that's how I understand things. Um, I also feel like it's a conditioning, not just within a prison system, but just an overall communal conditioning. If you're from somewhere and you're raised a certain way, your beliefs are your beliefs, and everyone around you is operating the same way. So when you're stepping outside of that upbringing, you come into a space where you're like, okay, is this the truth? You start questioning things if you're not hardened to what you've believed, and you're able to be malleable. You're willing to put down your beliefs that you've been raised on and welcome into different types of other people's ideations, on different subjects or whatever. But I truly believe that it's a conditioning thing when you're using examples of police officers and why they feel the way that they feel, or people who are against policing, why they feel the way that they feel because of the communities that they're raised. People get into professions for different reasons because of their belief systems and why they do the work that they do versus why we're doing the work that we do. And then everybody comes together. I didn't really understand the opposite side of law enforcement until I got into this work, because I have been victimized by law enforcement. So I'm an African American woman. We don't have the best relationship in my community with policing, and I've been raised on that. So when I was able to be involved in a different conversations and at the table and get different opinions and different perspectives and different viewpoints, it really opened my eyes to, okay, I need to study this system more, not because I don't know why it's been built the way that it has, because I definitely do understand that, but because if I know something, then I can better attribute, and then I can better educate, and then I can better inform, and then I can better teach, and then we can better lead when we have both aspects and we're willing to, bring about different perspectives and not just hinder on one, which is important for advocacy.
Yeah, Leandra, that's beautiful, because you're really illuminating everything I just mentioned, right? So for you actually have done the work to break up what is reality versus your assumptions. So for you, this training will be taking you to the next level, right? We all walked in with a baseline. So and that's why we're inquiring together, because it's not going to be, I say this one thing and it's going to fit for Roger the same way it's going to fit for Heather, the same way it's going to fit for Leandre. So that's why we're doing this and having exercises, because y'all have baselines, and then wherever you're at is going to take you to the next level. So that'll be the same for you, Leandra. So thank you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is coaches and mentors, because I've found that how I can check my assumptions and my realities and really stay grounded in all this is I dive headfirst into personal development. I have a coach, I have a mentor. Hands down, I will tell you, like 100%, I would not be in this field if I did not have a mentor or a coach to guide me through all of the gnarly things that come up in my head on a daily basis. So we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of having a coach and having a mentor. So Alexis, we'll play the video for you. It'll be a quick video. Oh, mute again, Lex.
I've
Oh, there we go. Now it's working.
done this far in my career for a reason. Like, look back at your career, look back at the wins you've had, look back at the success you've had, and recognize the fact that if I've done this good and I'm now in this position, I can do this job well, and I can be confident in myself and knowing I'm going to do it well. But it also requires taking risks and realizing I'm a little hesitant and fearful moving forward. But that's where you get the resources, the support, the mentorship, and you find people in the company who can help you where you feel you're lacking.
Yeah. So quick, easy, simple. Let's open this up. We'll have one person share and we'll open it up to, do you have a mentor? Do you not have a mentor? Why or why not? I'll have one person share. Yeah, Heather, I was so weird. I was just gonna say, Heather, will you share? Oh, you're on mute. Oh wait, no, you're not. We can't hear you. Oh no. You can hear us though, yeah? Okay. All right. Well, we'll fix that and we'll get back to you. What about someone we haven't heard from? Julia, would you be willing to say why or why not you have a mentor? Oh, why we can't hear you either. Oh, Julia, we can't hear you either. Let's try that again. Oh, all right. All right. We might be able to help you in the background. Let's see if it's, I don't know, Veronica, will you try saying something? I hope it's not everybody. Let me see. Oh, you're on.
Hello.
Oh,
Good
yeah.
morning.
Okay. So for some reason, Julia and Heather, I don't know. We'll hopefully get back to you on that. Veronica, would you be willing to share why or why not you don't have a mentor?
I haven't thought of but my pastors are my mentors.
Yeah.
I work for Garden Pathways and that's what we do. We offer mentoring services. So I hadn't thought of it that way, but my pastors are probably my mentors. And I mean they kind of keep you grounded because sometimes I have some crazy ideas and they're just kind of side-eye me and lead me back in the right path.
Yes.
So that's all.
Yeah, and that's great too, right? You're gonna maybe realize things that you didn't even think of, right? Oh, like my pastor is my mentor. So now you'll be able to say and hone in on that and recognize that for yourself that wow, like they keep me grounded. So thank you. Okay.
Real quick, can you hear me now?
Yes, Heather, we can hear you now. Can you
Okay.
hang tight and we'll have you share in the next section?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Heather. Appreciate your grace. All right. So now we're going to talk about self-inventory. So we're going to go through now step by step what it is to look at different things in different ways to keep you grounded, in addition to mentors and coaches. So I would we're going to look at taking inventory first. If you want to go back, Alexis, not quite there yet. Okay, perfect. So one example that I have for myself is really having humility and calling yourself out. I'll let you know that I am from a rich white town in Connecticut, and through my mentorship, it completely shifted my entire mindset of what I knew growing up. Right? Someone talked about conditioning. You know, I really did. I had the mindset that yeah, you have a crime, you're in a gang, you go to prison. Like that is what I was taught. And it wasn't necessarily like people said that, but it was just in the culture I was in. However, I am also part Puerto Rican, and I never really got exposed to that living in Connecticut in that town. And so through this field, that's allowed me to really look at some other sides of my culture. So I'm just giving you an example because I have to be mindful that even though I'm part Puerto Rican, walking around sometimes in these spaces advocating for Black and brown communities, sometimes people do look at me and say, there's a white woman who's very put together representing these communities. And so I have to just have the humility to know when I have to really take a step back and give space to those communities, or when I really lean in and step in. And a lot of where I've been stepping in the past couple of years is with the police department, is with government. So I've had to really look at that for myself. But it was because of the self-inventory that I, if I kept just hiding that or just being afraid of it, or, it really wouldn't make me a strong advocate. So I say that because humility, I think, is a big portion of being an advocate as well. So we're going to go through, Alexis, a couple things that we can do that you can do to really keep balance and keep yourself in check. So we can look at it in 3 different ways, right? So balancing all of this out. What's your mental health check-in? So for me, like I mentioned, I have coaches I literally talk to mostly every day, if not 3 or 4 times a week. So that's really my mental health check-in. My self-care check-in is really around setting myself up with a schedule for the week so that I'm not starting my Monday and just running around with all the different things that I have to do. That really keeps my self-care check-in where I'm balanced. And then and with the work check-in too, right? So I'm always making lists of what do I have to do personally, what do I have to do for work, and what are ideas that I want to really create for myself. Going to the gym, eating healthy. I'm literally always writing this stuff down, because if I don't, then I'll just get consumed in work, consumed in the advocacy, and I've definitely burnt out a couple of times. So those are just some examples of what I do. So if you want to make a list for yourself and keep this for yourself, we're not going to spend a ton of time going through all of your lists right now, but you want to keep this throughout the entire series because we're going to refer back to it. So you want to keep, write down for yourself, mental health check-in, make a list, self-care check-in, make a list or a column, work check-in, make your list, a list or a column on your page. And consistently, we're going to add to it throughout the entire session. And then any questions on that before I move on? I do want to open that up. I want to just check in and make sure that all made sense. Any questions on that? No? Okay. All right. Beautiful. All right. We are going to watch a quick video.
To be an advocate is an act of service. It is.
My apologies. I don't know what just happened.
Or we can start over there. There we go.
To be an advocate is an act of service. It is using your voice to influence decision makers and to demand changes, to demand policy, to demand systems that work for the benefit of humanity. In a perfect world, we would have equitable systems, we would have fair and just systems, and everyone would have an opportunity to live a life with dignity. And because that's not the perfect world that we live in, we certainly need people who can use their voices, who can demand a different world, a better world with equitable access, justice for all. For me, advocacy is the work that so many people, many of us across the world do daily to ensure that we can move towards that world. The work of activism and advocacy has to be inclusive. Not everyone is opportune to have a seat at the table. Therefore, for those of us who are privileged to have a seat at the table, we must ensure that the voices that we represent are actually a part of the discourse. Those communities, those individuals that may be facing marginalization or oppression understand their challenges better than some of us who may have not had those lived experiences. One of the things that I really like about the Global Citizen model is that you can become a part of the solution regardless of where you live, what your socioeconomic status is, and what opportunities you have access to. Global Citizen, through our app, enables a girl in rural West Africa to be able to use her voice to advocate on issues that are near and dear to her that she cares about. Our app allows men and women across the globe, in urban areas, in marginalized areas, in affluent areas, to come together and coalesce around a common goal of ensuring that we can eliminate poverty across the world. I think it's really an honorable mission, but I also think that it is a mission that can only be achieved if we come together as one. And the Global Citizen app allows us to be able to do that.
All right. So I want to look at we're going to have one more. I'm just looking real quick. Yeah, we're going to have one more big conversation, but I want to open it up, take one share, maybe from you, Heather, since your audio is working. But I just want to emphasize something. So you can probably tell that we're going back and forth between what's advocacy, your mindset, what's advocacy, diving a little bit more deeper into advocacy, what's your mindset. And that's really intentional because that's really the routine that I train this from. So y'all can take that out into your practice, right? What's my day-to-day advocacy like? What's my mindset right now? How am I going to check in with myself? So I'm intentionally giving you bits and pieces of advocacy, and then we go to mindset. So I just wanted to create that as an overall context that it's done intentionally in that way. So Heather, would you like to share anything that's opening up for you? Maybe about even what I just shared right there, and then we'll dive into the next conversation.
Sure. So I run an organization that serves a community that I live in that is a BIPOC community. And we serve people coming out of the criminal justice system. And I fit both of those demographics. And being in a position of leadership, I think sometimes I really struggle with what I think are the real problems with getting the right diversity and engagement from our community. And then what is the reality? So we teach an entrepreneurship program, and I have 30 topics where I try to find specialists from the community who own businesses and actually do these specific things day to day, whether it's HR, whatever. And I try to keep our volunteers very diverse because we serve a very diverse crowd, and I want them to feel like they're represented, and it's not a white privileged person, even though that's not really what I am, but that's what they see.
I understand. I got you, girl. It's right here.
And so in my mind, I'm like, well, great. I understand this stuff because I'm from these areas, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to just be able to increase our diversity in our programming. And the reality was there really wasn't a lot of diversity in the expertise that I was looking for in terms of owners to teach that. And I was shocked. I really thought, well, maybe they just don't engage as much because people haven't reached out to them, but I have a really hard time finding them. So I think that really kind of changed my idea of what was reality and what I thought was out there.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's awesome. And I just really acknowledge all of you for being so open. That's really what this is going to take, is just, those little shifts, and Alexis knows me very well. I am someone who, if I don't catch myself, I will just go, and just like, I'll go until I won't stop, until I run into a brick wall. So it's the little shifts in the mindset that can make such a big difference. And we forget as humans to do that. And we forget how much of an impact that really has. So that one insight that you had right there can shift the entire, direction of the entrepreneurship program for you. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm hearing. So just keep that in mind. Like the simplest things I sometimes make up don't make a difference, but the simplest things can make a big difference. So I appreciate you saying that. Beautiful. Okay. We're going to get into another conversation about breaking barriers. And we're going to start to look. And again, I just want to emphasize, we're going to go back and forth between mindset and systems and advocacy. But now we're going to dive into having a conversation about systems and about community organizations. And I have a question for all of you. I'm going to take one share per question. Who are systems made of? Who are they made of? And again, no right answer here. What are systems made of? Yeah, Christina.
Hi, this is Christiana.
Hi. Sorry, Christiana, sorry.
All good, all good. Systems are made of people. That's my answer.
Great. Okay. And what are community organizations, or what are organizations and communities made of?
Yo, I say the same thing. People.
Okay, well, you're leading us right into the next. Did you read my notes that I have for today? Thank you, Christiana. Yeah, these entities are filled with human beings. And this is going to go back to my challenge with you, Roger. If they're filled with human beings, there really is endless possibilities. And again, I'm going to say so many like crazy things that are just going to roll out of my mouth. But it can be simple, but very difficult, right? So I'm going to say some simple things, but I know that they're difficult, right? But if we actually look, if they're filled with human beings, if we have the right mindset, and if we have the right coaching, and if we have the right techniques, there really is endless possibilities to work together for a common goal. Again, it's not rocket science, but it's really difficult to achieve if you don't check yourself. Trust has to be reciprocal, even if we think that we should be the ones that automatically should have the trust, right? I went into that program, and I am going to refer the police department program. It's a community violence program here in San Diego. I went into that relationship assuming that we should have the trust of the police department. And that's where it went completely off rails. Anytime someone challenged me, anytime they said, well, we need this, for data, I got defensive. And I'm humility. I'm going to call myself out. I've grown a lot in the past couple of years, but I went into that relationship assuming that I had the trust when I didn't. So trust really has to be reciprocal, even if we think we should be the ones that automatically should have the trust. It's just not the case. It's still earned on both ends. And it doesn't have to be the head of an organization. Remember what I talked about with knowing where space is given, right? So that program is run by myself and one of my partners, Bishop. I partner with a lot of different people in the community. And sometimes it's him as the head of the organization going in these meetings, and sometimes it's me. So it doesn't have to be the head of the organization that is the liaison or building the trust. If it's not you, just again, call yourself out and know it and re-strategize from there. You can build that trust, even if it's not with everybody in the organization, and it can grow from there. And it's going to be rocky at times. I think that's the most difficult things for me, knowing as an advocate that it's going to be rocky at times. Because I get to a certain point or get the programs to a certain point and I'm like, all right, we're just gonna fly from here. And then a bump happens and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm also constantly learning that there's just always going to be rocky times in these relationships. Now, if you look at all the personal judgments and all of the opinions and everything that you're starting to discover in this session, right? We're getting all of the mindset on the map right now. If you take that and you multiply it by hundreds of thousands of people in the community, that's a lot of opinions. That's a lot of judgments. That's a lot of stuff happening out there in the community. Now, just imagine if we just allowed all of that to be there, right? We knew that systems are made of human beings. We know that communities and organizations are made up of human beings with those judgments, with those opinions, with those assessments. If we just recognize that as a society and as humans and as an advocate, and imagine you didn't have to put that on blast or blast it out on social media. And imagine if you could just go to your mentor or someone to get that all out of your head and then go back into those systems and organizations and remain objective, just think about what could be possible. I'm going to take some sharing. So I'm going to pause. So if you just look, right, all of the opinions you have as a human, multiply that by thousands of people in the community, in the systems and the organizations. If you just let that be, started to look at what's reality versus assumptions, what's the truth, what's not, what do you think could be possible as an advocate and as whatever movement you're in? What could be possible? And again, we're just in the beginning, but what's starting to show up for you? Veronica, you trying to, I think you're on mute. Oh, you were? Okay. I don't know if you were trying to, you're on mute if you are. So what would be possible? And it might be crazy to think about, but what do you think could be possible if we just surrender all of that?
Well, I usually try to wait and let everybody speak, so I can speak too much sometimes.
No, go ahead, Roger.
You know, one of the things that we have seen possible, especially here in Colorado, is recidivism rate has dropped a lot from what it used to be decades ago, because more people are speaking, more people are being involved, instead of giving a stigmatized mindset of people who were formerly incarcerated or formerly gang members. We are seeing changes. We're seeing changes in policies. We're seeing changes in attitudes. Some people, it will just take longer to get through to them, but there is change happening. We do see it. Our program, Lifeline, has a 0.5% recidivism compared to the state, which is about 55, 50, 45, somewhere in there. At one time was much higher. So slowly we are making a change to see hope being given to guys so that prison and gangs is not the answer.
Yeah, beautiful. So Roger, so that's your baseline, right? So that's the baseline that you walked in here with. What do you think is possible with implementing some of these techniques? Like, because what you've done is amazing work, right? And look, y'all, this, I'll emphasize this too. This is not to diminish or take away from any of the work that we've all done. It's been amazing work. But I'm looking at advocacy in a new way and challenging the baseline and seeing, you know, if we challenge the reality and assumptions, if we challenge our own opinions and beliefs far beyond even where we've come right now, like as a way to see what else could be possible for you, Roger. What else do you think is what could be possible from the baseline that you just shared with us? What could be expanded as a possibility?
Think about that one.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's a great answer. Yeah, mull it over. You might not have the answers right now. But like I said, I'm going to always challenge you. Like, what else could be possible? So that'll be an exercise for you between now and the next session, Roger, to really look at that for yourself. Who else? Anyone else see anything? Surrendering opinions or judgments, or knowing that our systems and knowing that everybody out there has opinions and judgments. We just do. But if we just let that be, what do you think could be possible? It could be in a relationship with someone that you don't see that you could have a relationship in the community. Like, I don't know. We'll take one more person who's willing to dive out there.
I guess I'll share. I think it with our own opinions, right? I think we put barriers up and we limit ourselves with our own opinions and judgments and ideas. So I think starting there is eliminating our own there's a lot of things that can stand in our way. So I think for me that's what it speaks to me anyways, where kind of eliminating those ideas and those judgments for myself.
Yeah.
Starting there.
Yeah, and what would be possible for you, Veronica? Give us like a live example of what would be possible up in Bakersfield or someone you work with. And again, this is
I think it would just, open up so many doors for myself if I'd put down some of those barriers or some of those ideas to grow. You
Yeah.
know, just as a person, as a professional, I think, yeah.
okay. Yeah, and do you have any examples of how that can make a difference with a partnership in the community? Or, and I'm asking these questions too, just so you have it for yourself, right? So you saw that opinions thing. Do you have any specific example of where that could make a difference for you in an area?
Well, we run into people all the time, right? And if I'd be able to advocate more for garden pathways or for the community that we serve, I think we'd open doors because you never know who you're gonna run into.
Okay.
So I'm part of the fiscal department,
Okay.
but I think even then,
Yeah.
even then you can make a difference when you're out in the community.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's perfect too, what you just mentioned. I didn't know you were in the fiscal department, right? So for you, yeah, it would be like, okay, well, this isn't my role, but it matters to me. You're there for a reason. And I actually just did a 5-session training for garden pathways. So I was up there in Bakersfield training some of the staff. So I know what y'all are doing up there. So that's a great example of, okay, well, you're not directly with the clients, but you're with an organization that it sounds like you believe in. So, surrendering those opinions out in the community, you could also make an impact in that as well. That is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else that we want to, or anyone else that wants to share? And then if not, we'll go into another exercise. Okay. All right. Okay. So now what we're going to do, and just real quick, actually. So Veronica just mentioned something that I want to just emphasize, right? Like you might be able to have relationships with critical people who could potentially get, a youth or adult out of trouble or provide diversion or additional programming for additional funding for a program. Or like she said, she doesn't work directly with clients, but she works in an organization. So just again, this is your challenge is if my opinions, if my judgments, if knowing other people that I work with, they have opinions and judgments too. If I were to be able to be the one to go beyond those opinions and judgments, what could be possible? So that'll be something, again, your question to keep on the forefront for you. So now we're gonna give you an exercise and we're gonna think about who you serve. What are you doing on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? And we're gonna make a list of systems connections that you currently have, and then a list of community organizations that you currently have connections with. And then if we have time, actually not if we have time, you'll make a third list. I'm just going to add this in here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to do this. You want to add a list of individuals, whether it be systems, community members, organizations that you don't have a relationship with. And if you were to put opinions and judgments aside, would it make a difference for you to be in a relationship with them in the community for who you serve? So 3 different lists. And we're going to give you actually, we have time to give them about 5 minutes, Alexis? Yeah. Okay. We're going to give you 5 minutes. Does anyone have any question about this exercise? Okay. All right. We're going to give you 5 minutes whenever Alexis says to start.
All right, go ahead. We have about 2 minutes left. Thirty more seconds.
Last minute, who's your system partners, community partners, and who do you not have partnerships with? And again, we're gonna keep adding to this, so.
And that is time, everyone.
All right, bring it on back. So we are gonna get now, with time went quick, we're gonna get into our closing exercise, but I do want to emphasize again, all the lists that you kept today, we're gonna keep adding to it. And again, I highly recommend that you keep coming to each session because it really does build on each other. So keep all the lists you made today. We're gonna do a closing exercise and then we're gonna take some sharing. Okay, so you'll notice it's the same as the opening one. So we're gonna now look at what's your mindset now around advocacy? What's your mindset now around empowerment? What shifted for you from the beginning of this session to now? And then we're gonna open it up for sharing. We're gonna give you about 2 minutes for this, whenever Alexis says to go.
All right, everyone, you can begin. And that's time, everyone.
All right, we're gonna close it with some sharing. And then we can take that slide down. Okay, perfect. All right, so who wants to share what opened up for you from the beginning to the end with that exercise? What opened up? Amanda, would you be willing to share?
You know, I think real quick, we'll just say, us as a staff do monthly talking circles.
Yeah.
We actually just did one on advocacy for savior.
Yeah.
And so kind of going through this was like, oh wow. Being aware, I think, is really important of those around you, kind of like you stated.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know some of the bias that we all had and how that affects our advocacy and the work we do. So I really just wrote down to be more aware and open-minded and kind of self-check myself. I think that's something I forget about often.
Awesome.
Is to check myself sometimes because I get so passionate and so involved, and sometimes I forget to check myself. So kind of listening to this has made me I have to remind myself, check in, self-check, like chill.
Yeah.
So that's probably the difference that I've seen today for me.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and that's great that you mentioned that, right? Because it's so easy to just, like I said, go, go, go. So that's why it's intentionally, we're gonna talk about a little bit of advocacy. We're gonna take a step back and do, self-inventory. We're gonna talk about advocacy. So it's designed so it breaks that up for you. So that's great. Just keep those lists and we'll keep adding to those.
Yeah, and I had to go off camera because we kind of just had that happen. We had a homeless person come in, needed a train ticket, and we all band together and advocated for him and connected with the pastor, and he's getting to go home. So like, it don't stop.
Yes, I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. That's why these trainings are so important, because you have to, you
Yeah, you
cannot
do.
burn yourself out. All right, cool. Well, thank you for giving us a live example of why we're doing this. That happened right now. All right, Michaela.
So I would say what shifted for me from what I wrote down, and I'll just read what I wrote down. So I said my mindset is that I'm committed, I'm taking actions towards my goals and closer to the things that I want for the community, leaving no doubt for procrastination, holding on to my purpose, which is to make a difference, but knowing balance, boundaries, and that I cannot fix everything. Alternating my own assumptions and beliefs to understand the truth, and being honest to becoming the best version of myself when showing up for others. So I guess my take back would be making sure to alternate my own assumptions and beliefs. I think what stick out to me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And did anything specifically open up for you around that? Even, the procrastination stuff?
Yeah, I think as a whole, especially in this industry, like Leandra stated, you do get burnt out and you do get fatigued. I think just definitely balance, I guess, in time management, I would say, is what I would be focusing on.
All right, beautiful. All right, thank you. And again, keep writing this down, keep discovering, right? So this is, I'll call this like the huddle, right? In between sessions is where you'll really practice this. And Amanda just gave us a live, we were in the huddle and that live thing happened. So she did both, right? But the purpose really is to take this out into your life and into your day-to-day, which is why we do have assignments. And I don't want you to think this is like school or anything you might think of back in the day homework, but it's really designed for you to keep this training alive for yourself between sessions. So we're going to go through this with you and we will email this to you, but I would go ahead and take a screenshot of it as well. So homework. So the first one is you want to write down 2 examples of reality versus assumptions and how you've fallen into the trap of making assumptions versus the facts? How did you feel in that moment and afterwards? What can you do moving forward if it comes up again, right? Like a daily or weekly practice for yourself. Number 2, identify a coach or mentor you trust. You could create a list. Number 3, continue to add to your mental health, self-care, and work check-ins, those 3 columns that we made, right? Remember I told you to keep that in front of you. Continue to add to that. Continue to add to your systems list. And we forgot to put on here, we'll update it and send it out, but we forgot to put continue to add to your community collaborations list, and even those lists that you don't have relationships with yet, right? Again, all the opinions and judgments, what will be possible with all those relationships? And then continue to write out like, why care about this stuff? Like really, like it, like I know it's a job. We all get paid. We all are compensated in some sort of level, but like beyond that, like why care? Why care about advocacy? Why care about breaking barriers between systems and CBOs? So you want to really discover that for yourself. And that is our time. Is there anything else that anyone needs or has a question or wants to share before we wrap it up? Julia, we can't hear you still. Yeah, you want to, can you chat it and we'll say it out loud? Because we can't hear you. Okay, perfect. She's chatting. All right, well, Julia's chatting. Any questions, any clarifications on anything I went through? Anyone anything needs before we hop off? Okay, we'll just wait for Julia's then.
Julia was just testing her mic to see if it worked. Unfortunately, it did not yet, and we're going to regroup for next session.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, please let's see if we can do that, because we'd love to hear from you. So, all right, y'all, it was lovely being with you. We'll email you and you'll have my email. So if you need it, also, if you need anything between sessions, if you have a question or bumping up against anything, reach out to me because I'm available. All right. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.